Jules Kounde has agreed personal terms with Chelsea Football Club. He's agreed to a 5-year deal and a contract until 2026. It won't be a problem. Personal terms will be sorted as soon as Sevilla and Chelsea come to a formal agreement. They're in advanced talks right now. This deal is closing in very, very quickly indeed. It appears right now 90% of the way done that Jules Kounde will be a Chelsea player going into next season. And just as Dean Jones said this morning on the Football Terrace, Chelsea fans needed to remain relaxed. They were going to sign players this summer. In other news, also exclusively revealed and reiterated more so from Fabrizio this afternoon, Thomas Tuchel wants Declan Rice. Thomas Tuchel wants to bring another central midfielder into this Chelsea team ahead of the new season. These are two big money signings. Could they damage or impact the pursuit of Haaland? Maybe. We've got an interesting quote from one of the former scouts and transfer gurus at Dortmund coming up a little bit later on the show. But hit that like and that share button. Jules Kounde to Chelsea, as we told you, was a deal on the cards all the way back in March. We got ridiculed and laughed at for saying it, but it pushes forward with more haste now. Chelsea close to signing Jules Kounde. Hit that like and that share button. Here we go. Welcome back to the Terrace. Jules Kounde has agreed to join Chelsea Football Club. Personal terms are not going to be an issue. 5-year contract, in principle, put forward. Signed, sealed, delivered. Signed, sealed, delivered. No issues at all. He wants to be a Chelsea player. Of course, he turned down the option of joining Tottenham just a week or so ago. He wants to be a Chelsea player. Seemingly, Real Madrid didn't come in for him. Or, in fact, Chelsea have probably pipped them to the post, if we're being absolutely honest. He wants to come and play for Thomas Tuchel's revolution at Chelsea Football Club. And this is a fantastic piece of business. This is an excellent, excellent signing for Chelsea Football Club. I wouldn't say it's come out of the blue because, of course, Jules Kounde has been linked. As early as November 2020, he's been linked with a potential move to Chelsea Football Club. In March, the news picked up with a little bit of pace that Tuchel really liked him. A lot of people at the time kind of scoffed at this idea, and Chelsea spent a lot of the summer eyeing up other potential options in that defensive area. And of course, why would they not look at other options? Why would they not look at other possibilities for that position? But they've ended up finalizing on a deal, almost finalizing now on a deal with Jules Kounde. In terms of their preference, that's who they've gone for to bolster these areas. It will mean a player or two leaves Chelsea. It will mean a defender or two may be going out the door, but we'll delve into that in a little bit more detail soon. But I want to gauge your views. I want to gauge your opinions on this. Make sure you're smashing that like button for us now, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a poll running as well. And the poll here says, and I'll quote what the poll says, if Chelsea sign Kounde and Rice, is that enough to win the league? Currently, only 54% of you think that is enough to win the Premier League. C with a comment here says, you'd love to see it, Terry. Kounde rejecting Spurs for Chelsea. It's nice to know he has ambition. Certainly has ambition. Certainly has ambition in doing that. And I don't even mean that disrespectfully to Tottenham, but it's the reason that Jules Kounde said no to Spurs at that point is because these types of deals were on the cards. Chelsea have been looking at him, talking to him now for many, 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 many months. Real Madrid were looking at him as an option as well. Many clubs were. There was no way he was going to pick Tottenham when those deals were still potentially on. This could be Chelsea's first major summer signing. As Dean Jones said to you all this morning on the done deal, Chelsea are going to sign players. It was almost a case of relax. Nobody even knows 100% who. We knew who the number one targets were at Chelsea. But there we go. He's in. I want your views and your opinions. That like button. How can we be on 700 live viewers but only 90 likes? with this kind of news for you Chelsea fans. Smash that like button now. Smash that like button, people. Get it done now. A lot of people asking for Haaland news. We'll touch on Haaland a little bit later, but my suggestion to you now as Chelsea fans is you're signing one of the best young centre-backs in the world. Focus on that moment as it stands right now. On top of that, Declan Rice is a top option for Chelsea still. This has been confirmed and reiterated again by Fabrizio Romano. Tuchel and the board love the player. Remember this. This is my message now to all Chelsea fans that are on Declan Rice's back. I understand we all have a difference in opinion of what constitutes good value, what looks like good value. Is it a good signing, bad signing, or indifferent? Is it too much money? Whatever. I want to point this out. The manager that just gave you your second greatest night in the history of your club, who won you a Champions League inside 5 months, who took you from being an also run in the Premier League under Frank Lampard to being one of the best teams in Europe, one of the best teams in the Prem. He's got the likes of Haaland, one of the best young strikers in the world, clucking at the idea of joining you. He wants Declan Rice. He has told the Chelsea board he wants another central midfielder, and he wants Declan Rice to be that individual. You will make a bid at some point this summer. Declan Rice has done all he can to get this move to Chelsea. He's rejected 2 new contract offers, from West Ham. There's reports of a 3rd offer coming in. He's going to reject that as well. The fact that he's turned those deals down and West Ham are having a bad summer, this is certainly a deal that can be done. Declan Rice is on. It isn't advanced yet. Chelsea are going to wait. They're still going to wait a little bit longer before they put their bid in. But the Jules Kounde deal, personal terms agreed or no problem, same difference. Advanced talks between the 2 football clubs. All of this brought to us by Fabrizio Romano this afternoon. I want your views and I want your opinions on this. Got Jem that's going to come on very soon. We're going to share the link now for you to phone up and have your say on the football terrace. Also, we want to hear from you Chelsea fans today and rival fans about this deal. Let me just put the link in the comment section for you all right about now. That's shared now. You'll see it come through. Get yourself the phone in and have your say. But we need that like button smashed. Also, we're going to bring man like Jem on in a few moments' time as well. I'm just going to repost that link again so I can see it on my screen. And I'm going to pin the link in case you're struggling to find it. It's going to come up in blue in a few moments on your screen. It's going to be the pin comment section. So get yourselves involved. A few of your comments here. Another player turning down Tottenham for Chelsea. You love to see it, is what Luke has got to say here. Aaron says to all Chelsea fans who worried we was doing nothing, hang their heads in shame. Roman was loading the gun and he's now popping shots. And you've got to remember, regardless of what this Jules Kounde deal is going to cost, you are going to recoup a fair amount of this money. A fair amount of this money is going to be recouped by Chelsea. Without a shadow of a doubt. You're going to sell at least 2 centre-backs to potentially raise the money. I think you'll cover the costs. I think you'll cover the cost of this transfer. I don't think it's going to damage your Haaland pursuit at all. There's still a number of players at Chelsea that you can sell. First team players as it stands right now. And I think with Silva being there, Kounde comes into play for me. Kounde in my opinion, comes in. He's the second best centre back at Chelsea instantly. There's 2 centre backs you can sign. There's Barkley. There's Loftus-Cheek. There's lots of money that can be raised to cover the costs of Kounde and of Declan Rice, and still be able to afford, with the relaxing of the FFP rules of Haaland. A lot of people still think a Haaland bid is going to come in later on down the window. Even Haaland himself was quoting the €175 bid that's been put around his name in recent times. So it's certainly on. It is certainly doable. And I want your views and I want your opinions. We're going to go first of all to Jem here. We all know Jem's a big Chelsea fan. Jules Kounde set to sign. He's agreed personal terms. Give me your thoughts, mate.
Finally, we've done it. Actually signed someone. Do you know what I mean? I was getting a little bit worried. And to be fair, with this Kounde, sorry, mate, with this Kounde news, it's come out of nowhere, right? I didn't know from yesterday that Chelsea were interested in Kounde, you know. So, yeah, look, I'm excited. I was on the football terrace a couple of months ago, and you guys asked me who I prefer out of Kounde, up in Meccano, and a number of you, and I said Kounde, and everyone was like, really? I think he's a top quality defender. His interceptions are very, very good. He's got got abundance of pace. His distribution as a defender is what suits him and Chelsea because of the way we play anyway. And I agree with you, Terry. He walks in straight away for me. He walks in, he plays right centre back with Thiago Silva next to him and Rudiger. Now, I've seen a lot of Chelsea fans on Twitter saying, well, we're probably going to get rid of Rudiger now. It's probably done. He's not going to sign a contract. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think you'll probably see a Kurt Zuma potentially be up for sale. I think there's talks of maybe a Tottenham going for him, even an Everton around 40 million. So in itself, it covers the cost from what we're being told so far of Kounde anyway. We've already sold £50 million worth of players already. That was only 3 players that have gone out the door. Like you said, we might be buying a Kounde, a Haaland, maybe even a potentially a Declan Rice, but we're going to recoup a lot of this back anyway. So it's just good business all round for Chelsea. And the other thing as well is obviously with Thiago Silva, maybe just, finishing off at Chelsea one more season at Chelsea. We're looking at the future. It's the progression element. A guy that young coming in, it works. And if you look at the Chelsea squad and the average age, they're young. They're young. We're building for the future. And it makes a lot of sense for me.
It certainly makes sense. And it's a very, very good signing indeed. And you know what? Like Rafael Varane was a player that I think actually slowed this deal down. If we go back, and he was a player that I knew were linked with Chelsea. Before I started doing the Done Deal show, I remember sharing and saying on the Football Terrace that I talked to a source of mine and a journalist I know who said that Chelsea are talking to him. And this was the people that's come to fruition now. Nobody knew what the Terrace was doing at that point. It was even before the snack announcement came out. And a lot of people shut it down as no, we're not. Where's this news come from? It's not anywhere else. So you've been looking at him. I think the Rafael Varane situation slowed it down. And I mean that in the sense of Varane becoming available was a shock to everybody. Nobody, Man United, PSG, Chelsea, they were the 3 teams that inquired about Varane. Varane very early on said, if I move, I want to go to Manchester United. So Chelsea very diligently carried on working on the Jules Kounde deal. But you had to get your ducks in a row to get players out because Chelsea are not just looking at one signing this summer. They're looking at 2 or 3, but they're looking at specialists. They're looking at Declan Rice and Jules Kounde to impact now and in the future. These very talented young players that improve your team in the short term, but at the same time, and also when you look at Haaland's the same. 3 of your signings are instant impacts, but with massive futures, and that's what Chelsea are looking to do. But those kind of deals are hard because we all know with Declan Rice there's a bit of English tax, but we all know when you sign some of the best youngsters in the world in their particular positions, they're huge deals. They're huge deals. They're huge transfer fees, and a lot of work needs to be done. And Chelsea have been working diligently to get here. I've been screaming on every stream to every Chelsea fan: stay relaxed, stay relaxed, stay relaxed. Because at the end of the day, you're going to do some business. There was no way, in my opinion, that Chelsea were going to get to the end of this transfer window and not sign anybody, not bring anybody in. I thought that for me, that didn't even feel
it was not going to happen.
Yeah.
And not just that, also, we will sign a striker. I know people are worried about the whole Haaland thing, and I keep saying just be patient with it. I do think that we do need to hear some sort of movement, either by the end of this week or the beginning of next when it comes to him. But, even we do have to kind of set ourselves up a little bit in case we do not sign him. But I still think we will sign someone to play up front, if that makes sense. So even if it isn't a Haaland, I still expect someone to come in. But in terms of Kounde, it makes a ton of sense for me. And like you said, it's progression. It's having a clearer picture. I actually think, and I hope that this is the case, that Tuchel is hopefully now going to be here for the long run. I really do. I actually think he's being given the opportunity to work with. I don't think when you look at Chelsea in the past, we always sort of was hesitant in terms of managers coming and going, whether they're actually going to be given the opportunity to progress a squad and move forward with a squad. When I look at the average age of the current squad that we've currently got, and I look at the manager that we have, I just don't see why the board or Roman Abramovich would choose to get rid of someone like Tuchel even in a season, even if he had not the greatest of seasons. I'm not saying, and when I say greatest, get in Champions League, maybe not win a trophy and at least compete for the Premier League, I still think they would stick by him. I just think there's a progression thing going on with Chelsea, and these movements that we're making at the moment in terms of the players that we're looking to bring in is a sign that we're looking for the future, and it's exciting stuff, mate. I am really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I completely get where you're coming from. I still think with Chelsea they'll maintain their mantra of you've got to be he's got to be in it at the very least. Like if you go to the final day of the season and you can still win the league, you'll keep it. I mean, if he finishes fifth this season, he'll get sacked. I think that if he has a bad season, I think he'll lose his job. But the sky's the limits for Chelsea right now. You know, you start looking at your squad, and you know Mendy's very good. You've got forget the well-established world-class players. You've got Reece James. You're going to land Jules. I just had a text of a journalist I reached out to who has said to me that this deal is going. It looks like it's going to advance very, very quickly in terms of you could see a here we go from Fabrizio, and the clubs talk about this in the next 24 hours. I just got a text there while you were talking saying it's just not come out of nowhere. The work's been going on. Chelsea have just triggered it by starting the official conversations. The point being, though, you've got Kounde. You're going to get Kounde. You got Reece James. You got Ben Chilwell that's got a lot of legs to get better. Young Billy Gilmore is an example. There is, of course, Declan Rice linked to bringing in. You've got Mason Mount. You've got Pulisic, Kai Havertz as an example. There's still Hudson-Odoi that's got a lot of potential. You are then also looking at the best young striker in the history of European football in Haaland. You're building this team that, forget Tuchel for a minute, you're building a team which is future-proof. You're building a team that whatever manager, whether Tuchel continues to be successful or not, who is going to want to manage a team with that plethora of quality? It's amazing. As a Man United fan, I wouldn't use the word jealous, but I look at it and I admire it. I admire the quality because it's sensational. You are future-proofing your team. And when you think about some of the other top teams at the minute that are in contention for league titles, you scrape past their 2 or 3 world-class players that are of 28, 29 years of age. What's there after that? There's very little, right? Think about Liverpool. What's there? I see. Let me ask you quickly. I see a couple of since this Kounde news has been brought out, I've seen a couple of United fans already kind of a little upset because they feel like we've got the better sort of bargain in terms of signing Kounde and you just getting Varane. Varane being purely because of his age at 27 and Kounde at a young age of 22 and potentially getting him for 40 million. I see a lot of United fans saying, "No, Chelsea as a club have got a better deal again." What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with it, or? I don't know who those Manchester United fans are. I think those are the Man United fans who will probably be the same guys that look for negativity in every walk. Man United don't need any more young players at the minute, in my view, in terms of, especially from a defensive angle. We need to have an established centre-back pairing that can play together for the next, say, 4 to 5 years together. I would next summer being the year where we look at a Kounde-esque player. Jules Kounde is he the finished article right now? No. But he has a Thiago Silva to learn from for at least the next year or so. He's got the Rudigers there to learn from. We don't need that right now. We needed somebody more established. So I think you've got to look at it for horses for courses in that regard. Like Man United now, we need no more young attackers. We've got a lot of young attackers. We're going to buy someone else in a forward line. I want them to be more established. So I wouldn't say a better deal, but I think a very good deal in itself. I think Chelsea have got a real great mix of world-class winners and young players kind of coming through, and that balance is there. You think about this. Reece James is protected by you guys having Aspie, because when he goes through a bit of a bad patch or a bad game, you've got one of the best defenders in the history of the Premier League that comes into the team and protects it. Who's AWB had to come in and look after that role when he's had a bad run on the right? When he's learning as a 21-year-old, who's he had to come in and protect him? There's fucking no one. Chelsea are just 2 or 3 years ahead of Man United in terms of squad depth. So am I bothered? No, I'm not jealous or upset. I can recognize the brilliance of it, but it doesn't deter from how good my club's summer has been. 100%. Jem, great getting you on, brother. Thank you for coming on and speaking to us. Really,
see you later,
mate. Top man. Thank you. If you want to phone in, ladies and gentlemen, the StreamYard link is in the comments section. Click on it. Call in now, but smash that like button. It's a done deal. I'm being told it's a done deal that's going to be announced very, very soon between Chelsea and Sevilla. Of course, the majority of this news today broke from the brilliant, the fabulous himself, Fabrizio Romano. Personal terms agreed, they are done. We're also talking Declan Rice as well. Thomas Tuchel has come out and said he wants him. Thomas Tuchel has told the board to go and get him another central midfielder, has told the board to go and get him Declan Rice. Will that get Chelsea fans off of his back? And in other news today, just away from Chelsea slightly, Ruben Neves has confirmed to his agent that he wants the Manchester United move this summer. We'll touch on that a little bit later. We've got a brand new member that's just signed up to the Football Terrace as well. Thank you very much there to Joy. Really appreciate you becoming a member of the Football Terrace. We're getting towards 2,000 live viewers, which is amazing, but let's get this past at least 1,000 likes while we're on the air, please. Jules Kounde has agreed to his Chelsea transfer. The Winter Surfer's with me now. Give me your thoughts, buddy.
Wow. And people are going to say, wow, how's it been done in 3 hours? But amazing news. Hopefully this will settle the Chelsea fan base down a bit. I know everyone's got tunnel vision with Haaland and everything like that, but it's a major boost, Terry, for the squad, the defense. 22 years old. He's an excellent player. I think he'll only get better. I think what it does mean, Terry, I don't think we're buying a right wing back like for the squad, because I think he'll play Reece James and Aspilicueta more on the right hand side, or possibly even Cho at sometimes during the season. I think that what this signing does, it stops that. Also means, Terry, that we can, barring any injuries, and I hope Rudiger stays and Christian stays as well, that we can rotate Thiago Silva a lot more than we've done this season as well, and keep him fresh, because he is going 37 years old, and he's the type of profile player that we're going after now. Do you know what I mean? I read that we were looking at Varane, but the age maybe have put them off, maybe, and he's only 22 years old. So I still think Varane's a quality player, don't get me wrong, and I think he'll be a good signing for you. But I think Kounde, like you've been saying, it just ticks all the boxes that the Chelsea board are going for, and hopefully this some of the Chelsea fan base agenda against Marina stops, because she's actually doing a good job. What I will say is that Kounde's agent also represents Tchouaméni as well, and I know you're talking about Rice and he wants Rice and everything, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, instead of going 2 meetings, let's have one big meeting to see what Tchouaméni's situation is like as well. Whether we sign him and then loan him back to Monaco to get him Champions League experience. But I'm just saying, watch out for that. Maybe the Tchouaméni rumours start ramping up as well, because if we complete the Kounde deal. So I'm very excited. Kounde is an excellent defender, and I think he's going to get even better with the people around him. So
yeah, I think you're right about that. The Tchouaméni thing's interesting. It's funny, actually, because there was a big link a few weeks ago with Man United and Sal Niguez's agent, and it turned out, after I spoke to a few people, that contact with Sal Niguez's agent was to do with another player that he represents. Sometimes, there was when the other day it was confirmed that before it was announced that he was going to wear the 25 badge number on his back, it was put out that Sancho wouldn't wear the number 7. But what Andy Minton, the journalist, was told is that he will be given a shirt number that adds up to 7. So he just took a punt and a guess that it was going to be number 16, 1 and 6, right? So this is what happens with what journalists sometimes do, and it isn't a bad thing. It's normal. Is they're given information, but it's broken. The information is almost coded or broken, and they put 2 and 2 together. So what can happen is that a journalist can be told Chelsea were talking to this agent here, and people were searching, go, oh, Tchouaméni's there. And maybe that's the player you're looking at more because of Declan Rice. So they put 2 and 2 together. I definitely think there's some interest in him. And I think if you do sign him, a bit like with Billy Gilmore, I think it'll be a purchase and a loan back. But
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He'll get loaned back for a year.
It could definitely happen. It'll be interesting to see, mate. And I think your point is right. Like, but Raphael Varane is an amazing signing for me as a Man United fan. But
amazing.
This is an amazing sign for Chelsea in the position that you're in. And, I've had a few texts from a few journalists. I'm just trying to see if I can get one onto the show while we're live here, who has come out and said that, he feels this deal is going to be done very, very soon, if not already staggered as always. So it's going to be quick. He's a very, very good player. Everyone was interested. He got that cover at right back, like you mentioned. I wanted to ask you, though, quickly, brother. Declan Rice.
Yeah.
It's now come, again, from one of the most credible sources when it comes to transfers, that Thomas Tuchel is demanding Declan Rice. Do you want to see more Chelsea fans get off the back of this young midfielder now and just get behind it, because one of your greatest managers in the history of your football club wants him? Surely that should be enough now.
Yeah, I've always said, listen, I know, because my thing with Rice is not about the player. It was always about the price with Rice. But then again, it's Chelsea. If they want to spend the money, that's fine. And Tuchel wants him, that's fine. You have to back any Chelsea fan who doubts not backing Thomas Tuchel. Just look what he's done in 5 months at this club. Look what he's done to players. He improves players. Rice might not be your cup of tea, and at the moment, it wouldn't be my favourite. But if he comes in, I will back Rice to the hill. Do you know what I mean? He's my player. I will back my player. I reserve the right to criticise him because I think all fans have that right to do so. But that's if he comes in. I'm not one of these Chelsea fans that are already like twerking for him. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like that. Just wait till he comes in. But if he comes in and Tuchel wants him, I back Tuchel to improve any player that we have, and he's already shown to do that. And so Declan Rice, remember Declan Rice is 22. Yeah, the problem is, can he get over that price tag, and can the fans get over any price tag that we do for him? Because if we're paying over 50 million for a defensive midfielder, for me, Terry, he's going to have to be like one of the number one starters, right? If we're getting him for like 50, 60 million or something like that. And
yeah,
he will improve. I think I said to you loads of times, good players will improve with better players around them. It just happens. It's
no,
just
I hear you.
Ben Chilwell. Ben Chilwell.
I do hear you on that, and I think he will over the next 2 or 3 years break into this team and be a great signing for Chelsea. Listen, Winter Surfer, thank you very much, mate, for coming on and having your say. Appreciate that massively. Top man. Thank you. Next up on the show, Egal is here. Arsenal fan perspective coming up on this deal. Jules Kounde to Chelsea. Personal terms agreed. He's agreed to move to Stamford Bridge. Clubs are in advance talk. Done deal coming soon. I wouldn't say this is out of nowhere. There's been heavy links that we've been covering on the terrace since March, but Chelsea today have hit that trigger button. Chelsea summer signings are getting off to an absolute. Sorry, what's this? Some weird comment up. An absolute slower start than wanted, but a barnstorming start. One of the best young defenders in the world. And reportedly for less than £50 million as well. Excellent work. Egal's now here with us. Give me your thoughts on this transfer, mate.
You know what, Terry? If they're going to play a back three, this is great for Chelsea. And they move very quickly. They sign their players quite quickly. I'm surprised how quick things get done with Chelsea. It's almost like you hear that the player is being linked in May, and then you don't hear anything, and then all you hear is the player's deal is done, where it's not a transfer saga. And I can see that the Haaland transfer saga is going to go on for a while, but I'm not surprised if they get that deal done before the window is closed. And it looks like they're going to have some good business. But right now, it's not official. It's not officially done. So they only have, one signing? It's a goalkeeper. So, hey, Chelsea's going to need to get all these things done quickly if they're going to continue. But, hey, I'm going to give them credit. Good on them. That's that. I just wanted to say, Jules Kounde in a back four, I don't think it's going to work out in the Premier League. I personally, I've watched him play sometimes, and I've said to myself, if he's going to play for Chelsea in a back three, it's going to work. But if you're expecting him to be part of a center back pairing at Chelsea, it's not going to work out. You're going to need either somebody next to him who's going to marshal that defense. And I feel like Chelsea's going to be set up with the center back pairings with the amount of center backs they have next season. They're going to go back again with a back three, and that's why they're bringing him in, and that's why it's going to work.
Why don't you think he can play in a two?
I just don't think with the pace and with the adjustment that he's going to make getting into the Premier League, it's going to take him a while and also with the amount of center backs they have, I just feel like they're going to be playing in a back three anyways. But if they were going to go with a back two, I feel like he is not physical enough. He's not tall enough to handle the Premier League. Yes, you can tell me statistically he's looked well, but I just feel like in a back two in the Premier League, it's going to take a lot longer for center backs to get used to it.
Interesting take there from Egal. Super chat here says Haaland update to Chelsea have until the first week of August to put in a bid. Jan just said this on Fab's stream, although it's his opinion. You've got to remember when it comes to journalists, and in fairness to they give opinions based on what they're told, and these journalists have connections behind the scenes that none of us have. What I've realized in the last month or two, being more involved with the journalists in this scene, is that people discredit journalists generally when they give news they don't like. So when deadlines are set, or if they say a player may or may not be joining, and then all they do is spend their time trying to discredit that, I would say. It is his opinion, but Jan Furatov's opinion is based on conversations that he has with very well-connected people, especially in Germany. The people that he speaks to in Germany know what they're talking about. Now, none of these individuals can be held accountable for a club changing their minds. We'll give you an example. A lot of people pointed out to me today that Dean Jones got the Pepe news wrong. He said back in the summer where Arsenal signed Pepe, a month or so before Arsenal signed him. He was asked a question to rate it, and he said there's zero chance of it happening because the fee is above Arsenal's budget. Lo and behold, a month later, Arsenal get the deal done. But you know what's funny? Like, it's not Dean's fault that the Cronkies decided to up the budget. At the time that he went, and Arsenal fans were asking him for the information, he sourced the information, and Arsenal informed him it's outside of our budget. That's how they briefed. You can't ever go a journalist for briefing what they're being told unless you want them to lie and make something up to make you feel better. So we have to be very, very mindful of that. But Michael, thank you for that super chat. A lot of people giving pelters here to yourself, saying that
Terry, I said this.
Clueless, that you're a clown. What's your response to people challenging your opinion like this, my friend?
Terry, we spoke about Jules Kounde when he was first linked. What was it, 2 months ago? I said the same thing. Did I not?
No, I do get that. I do get that. And it's only time's going to tell. Who do you think the better signing is? Ben White for 50 million or Jules Kounde for 40 to 50 million? Who, if you had a choice now, you could pick either one of them. Who are you picking realistically?
Listen, I think Varane's the best centre-back signing this summer. After that, everybody else, we have to wait and see how they play. That's
I have them in front of you now. Both of them for 50 million pounds. Let's just put both the same price tag. You could pick Kounde or you could pick Ben White. Now you get to choose. Who would you pick, brother?
I'm picking Ben White because we have a situation at Arsenal where we need homegrown players. That's the reason. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just waiting for you to expand more. Yeah.
No. I generally feel like if you guys are asking me Jules Kounde or Ben White, I'm taking Ben White because we currently we are in a situation where we need to get rid of some of our homegrown players that are not good enough for this club, such as Hector Bellerin, such as Rob Holding, such as Callum Chambers. And in order to do that, we need to have homegrown players that are of the quality to play for Arsenal. Chelsea don't have that issue. They have players who meet the quota that are over the age of 23. Majority of our players that are homegrown are under the age of 23. So if you guys are asking me reason why, that's my reason. I'm not looking at their skill set. I'm looking at the asset needed at the club.
Fair enough. That's a great political answer. I love you, Egal. Literally, I've missed having you on the show, brother. I missed having you on the show. Thanks for coming on and giving us your thoughts, mate. We'll speak to you again soon. Top man. Thank you. Viewers, please make sure you've hit that like button. It's very important to the Terrace that you hit the like button. It's very important that you share this stream, but also make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace right about now. Please hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications as well. Let's do some more of your comments here. Does anyone want Saul and Tolisso from us? A couple of years ago, everyone was speaking about them as being superstars. Are you not there? This is politically charged. He hasn't answered the question, is what Ali says. Welcome to the world of Egal. Egal, we're going to call him here. Egal, not straight. He says White only because he is an Arsenal target. Ben White is proven in the league for letting in lots of goals, is what Jonathan Reed says here. Oh, come on, Egal. That's a weak reason. Listen, I'll be blunt with you. If I was offered both players, they're both young. They're both got time to develop and get better. I think they can both play multiple defensive positions as well. I'm picking Kounde. That's my personal choice. Everyone knows when I was asked earlier on in the summer, who do I want Man United to sign as centre-back? Jules Kounde was my number one choice, I believe. Until we got linked with Raphael Varane, nobody thought that deal was going to be possible. So my mind somewhat changed, but only slightly changed. Have all the people saying Kounde is clear actually seen him play on the regular? I bet they haven't yet. They haven't yet. How are you so sure that he is clear of Ben White? Is what Franklin has got to say. Footy Chats says, let's be honest, none of us wanted Ben White. So how are we going to say he's better? I don't know. Nobody seemed to want Ben White. I mean, by the way, I think Ben White's a really good football player. Like I've praised that signing as well. It's an interesting one. I saw my man Slendz in the comments a few minutes ago. What you doing, my guy? Thank you for tuning in, bro. Would love to hear your take on this. Remember, we're talking Declan Rice to Chelsea. Tuchel wants him. We're talking Jules Kounde closing in on a done deal to become a Chelsea football player this summer. Personal terms are all agreed. The next call we're going to go to, remember the links in the live comment section if you want to phone in. Next caller is going to be go to MH is coming on the show now. Man like Matty, Chelsea fans here. What you saying, bro?
How you doing, Terry? You all right?
Yeah, I'm very well. Give me your instant reaction, my friend, to signing Jules Kounde, or being very close to signing Jules Kounde.
I tell you what, if he's young and as good as everybody else is saying, I don't see why we've not done a blinder really. As far as the Declan Rice situation, I agree with Jem and quite a few other Chelsea guys that you've had on your show. Personally, because I don't think he's worth the £100 million price tag. But if we can get him down for less, that'll be cool. But like your poll said, and I did vote on your poll, I don't think it's enough for us to win the league. I think we need a striker. So obviously, we need to move forward with that. So
yeah, I mean, I understand thinking that. What is your take on the Declan Rice news that kind of couples this today, all from the same sort of articles and streams from Fabrizio? And what I mean by that is, Thomas Tuchel is pushing for a new central midfielder. And in the words of Fabrizio, and if we're trusting him on what I find really interesting is we trust him on his transfer news, but when he says things like Thomas Tuchel loves Declan Rice and wants him, when he says Varane was convinced to sign for Man United because of Ollie, people suddenly call that PR. It's almost so he's either credible or he's not credible, and I want to understand people's take on that. But from your perspective, if Thomas Tuchel wants Declan Rice, is that good enough for you?
It's good enough for me. This is a guy that has done wonders for Chelsea in 6 months. We were not even in Champions League spaces. Tuchel has done that and has won us the Champions League, our second Champions League. At the end of the day, you've got to give the guy his props. And at the end of the day, as much as Lampard wanted him and everything else, it kind of shows you really that Tuchel obviously has some respect for him. And, we've got to back our manager at the end of the day. This is, like I said, this is a man that has come in, has done wonders. So we've got to support him, whatever decision, it might, I mean, I know we're signing a backup goalkeeper at the moment, but, and he's on a free transfer, but you've got to back your coach. So,
yeah, I mean, you've got to. And the fact that he's won something so massive straight away, it just makes me feel like I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Chelsea fans here, but I've got to say it how I see it. I think I know we all have preferences and we're all allowed opinions, but Thomas Tuchel definitely knows more about football than every single standard Chelsea fan, Man United fan, Liverpool fan. And when you've won something and you've been successful, I think there should be less room. There should be this is my opinion, but I still think at the end of the sentence, it should be, but I'm going to get behind Thomas Tuchel's decision to do this. Do you understand where I'm coming? If for instance, your manager was Lampard and Lampard was failing, I get the questioning of it. But Thomas Tuchel is one of the top 3 or 4 managers in the world. He's a Champions League winner. I think that in itself deserves people to get behind him 100% with whatever decision he makes.
The whole point of being a supporter is you back the club. And if the club back the manager, you should back the manager as well as the club. That's the whole point of being a supporter. That's in the technical and definition of being a supporter. So I'm fully behind it. If he feels as though that Rice is the best option, if he feels as though Kounde is the best option, hell, if he feels that Haaland is the best option, back the guy, back the manager.
No, I totally agree, mate. Listen, great call as ever, Matt. Thanks for coming on the terrace and having you. Speak to you soon. Top man. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Lamin to come very soon. Before him, we're going to go to Greg. I don't know who Greg supports. I'm interested to see what you say. Lamin coming up soon as well. Welcome, Greg. Who do you support, bruv?
Hey, what's up, Terry? I'm a Man United fan.
Lovely, mate. Nice to hear from you. Give me your take on Jules Kounde to Chelsea, moving very, very close indeed.
I gotta say, I mean, it's a good bit of business on there, and because I mean, they also have to consider that a lot of their central defenders are going up in age, especially if you have someone like Thiago Silva who's 36. You're gonna have to watch out for that. He may not be able to play as much games. He is a world-class centre back. We're not denying that, but of course, the more strength and depth that they get, it'll help them challenge and probably compete for the Premier League this season. But it remains to be seen how Kounde adapts to the Premier League. So, good business on their end. I have to give them credit there.
Yeah, certainly good business indeed. A lot of talk on socials. What's the better deal? Ben White to Arsenal, Varane to United, Kounde to Chelsea. These conversations always happen. What's your thought?
First of all, Terry, tell Egal to stop capping, please, because everybody knows nobody was after Ben White like that. He needs to chill with that nonsense. But I mean, I'm not taking away any credit from Ben White. Ben White is actually, he's decent, but compared to what Jules Kounde has done with his career so far, winning the Europa League, representing France, Ben White has got less minutes for England than Tyrone Mings. So honestly, I'm not really impressed with Ben White so much to the extent. I'm just hoping to see whatever with the change of level, because I mean, let's face it, Arsenal's a different level from Brighton. So if it really gets to the point where he really shows up for games, especially in the cup matches, it remains to be seen. But Kounde, I think, would be the better deal for anybody at this point, because you're getting someone who has European experience, has played in European competitions, won a European competition. I say that kind of gives Kounde the edge in my book.
Mate, I totally understand and get that. I really do. Great call, Greg. Thanks for coming on and having your say, mate. Top man.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone who wants to call in, the link is in the live comment section. Next, we're going to go to Lamin. Lamin, welcome back to the terrace. Give me your thoughts. Kounde deal closing in fast.
Yeah, it's a really good signing. Can't be too mad at it. It's just like the last caller said, really, it gives us strength in depth. And with Thiago Silva's age, so we're gonna need that for sure. So yeah, and in all, I'm happy with it. And going on to the Declan Rice situation, I think I said before my opinions on Declan Rice. And I also agree that if we do get him, yeah, of course, I want him to prove me wrong. Like that's the whole point, really. I'm just saying that for me, from my perspective, if I was playing career mode, I wouldn't get him. But obviously, I'm not Thomas Tuchel, and if he was to get him, yeah, of course, I would get behind him and want him to succeed, really. But I don't think signing Kounde and Declan Rice is going to be enough for us to win the league. We do need a striker. I do. The Haaland thing keeps coming up. Of course, I want Haaland, but I just think that where our team is right now, we are set up to literally dominate, because you look at the age of our team and like the ability of the players, we're just like one piece away from basically sort of like winning the league and even potentially winning the Champions League again. So even someone that isn't necessarily on a Haaland's level, maybe a level below that, I reckon would be enough for us to challenge and even potentially win the league title. But encouraging signs, we're making movements in the window. And I'm just hoping that maybe one or two more signings and then we're ready to go, really. So if we sign Kounde and maybe Haaland, I would say those two alone signings would mean that we probably have the best transfer in the window, even more than United. Because if you look at our squad, I think we have a more complete squad than anyone. Unless City sign Kane and Grealish, then it's debatable.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like the best window, there's things you've got to look at. Is what what clubs fill the holes as a. I don't think it's necessarily about the best quality players. It's who filled their holes the best. But then it's like you've said, if City then go and get Grealish and Kane, it changes the conversation again. But from Chelsea's point of view, if they get themselves a quality striker that can score goals, I think if they get the midfielder that Tuchel's after and they bring in Jules Kounde, it's a perfect summer. You're not losing any of your star players, or so it seems. You're moving some fringe individuals on that barely play or have been out on loan anyway, so you're not losing anybody. Tuchel's going to get a pre-season to actually drill his philosophy in even deeper into these players, where he never had that chance. That he came in halfway through a concertinaed season and still delivered results. As a Manchester United fan, looking at this, it is scary, 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 scary. Like it truly is. You're going to be such a threat and such a powerhouse next year in the Premier League. It is unbelievable. Lamin, great call as ever, mate. I appreciate you coming on and having your say.
Thank
you, brother. Thank you. Harmon here. Thank you for becoming an Academy member of the Football Terrace. It means a great deal to us that you've signed up. Kings here says credit to Terry and credit to the Football Terrace for always bringing these reports weeks and weeks beforehand. Good job. Well, look, we reported on this story as in we reported on it being a potential deal and a player that Chelsea were looking at. I don't remember who they were. I remember a few sort of Chelsea accounts belittling it, sort of there's no links. This isn't going to happen. What are you talking about? What's going to be very, very interesting is next year on the football terrace, because next year on the football terrace, the done deal show is going to exist outside of the transfer window. So a lot of that is going to be that's when a lot of the early stage talks begin, between, you know, touching of bases, scouting of players, etc. So you'll start to see a lot more of it next year, where it might be in the November that Dean Jones comes on and says, "Oh, Man United are looking at the possibility of signing Harry Kane," and then it goes silent for 4 or 5 months, and then it pops up again. But you'll see a lot more of that. The Jules Kounde deal. It's funny because KJ and I were talking earlier, because I was like, "Do you remember when I was getting pelters for saying Jules Kounde to Chelsea back in March?" But there we go. There we go. Thank you very much, King, for recognizing that. We're going to go to CFC Beast next to come on, have their say. We're still not. Let's get this to 1,000 likes while we're live, people. Also, if you want to be notified, if you're new to the Football Terrace, we've had over 500 new subscribers in the past day. If you're new to us, but you don't want to miss any notifications when we go live, sign up to our Telegram account, which is in the link in our description below. You won't get any spam in there. It's just for notifications when we go live. We're the only YouTube channel that gives you the chance every day to phone up and have your say on multiple subjects to do with the game. Get that done right now. Next caller is going to be CFC Beast on the Football Terrace. What you saying, buddy?
Hello, Terry. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm very, very well. Give me your thoughts on Kounde to Chelsea.
It's it's normally been with Chelsea. They tend to do business and in the dark. There has been some speculation. I don't know who it is, but former West Ham employee said it, that Chelsea are in for a player that we may not know about in the coming weeks, and it will come alive. But it's a good deal. I mean, I think it's rumored for 50 million euros, if I'm not wrong, for a centre back that's highly touted to be one of the best centre backs in his era, and one of the best young potential centre backs, if I phrased that correctly. But I just don't want this to affect the Haaland deal, because look, we're trying to buy Haaland, and as much as I love to sign a player like Jules Kounde, we just had the best defensive record in the Champions League. I don't know if that's the first player I want Chelsea to be signing, if I'm completely and truly honest.
Well, I don't think, brother, let me just say this, but I don't think this is going to impact anything you're doing with Haaland. Legit, I don't, because you were looking at this deal at the same time. You've been working on these deals at the same time. You are selling. You've already raised, what, 50+ million pounds so far this summer, and there's still Barkley and Loftus-Cheek and a defender or two that can all be moved on from your club. You've got 40 million pounds that's about to come in, potentially from Arsenal and or West Ham, for Tammy Abraham, as an example. You've got tens of millions to raise through the sale of players. So if I was you, I legitimately wouldn't be concerned that this deal will stop you from getting Haaland, especially with FFP being relaxed. Roman's ready and willing to pump the money in. Chelsea just won't submit that bid until they know it's going to be accepted. So that's why they're trading. We've seen that all summer, haven't we? Every time a big club has been spoken about, that's why this is going to go very, very quickly now. As soon as you hear, I'm telling everyone this now, as soon as you hear official talks, it's the new buzzword. And just everyone who's watching and listening, check on this. Well, as soon as you see a big tier one, say advanced talks, things speed up quick, because or official talks more so, it speeds up quick, because clubs don't talk officially now until it's nearly all been done. All the work gets done via intermediaries. So Chelsea have done this fairly quietly, but Chelsea didn't just wake up this morning and say, let's go and buy Kounde. They've been working on this for months, just quiet behind the scenes. And do you know why it's probably been quiet? Because you've had 2 or 3 other targets that have dominated those headlines. Does that make sense? And I wouldn't worry about this deal getting in the way of others, my friend. But great call, Beast. We'll speak to you again soon. Top
See you
man.
later, Terry.
Top man. Thank you. Chelsea fans, hit that like and share button. My brother Slendz is coming on next. Grey Wolf Dinner here says the shit from Spurs. They bought this fight. But Jules Kounde, he saw the light. He got the call from Abramovich and went to Stamford Bridge. He hates Tottenham. He hates Tottenham. It's obviously a song. I don't quite know the tune that goes to it. It's a Chelsea thing. I'm very sorry I don't know it. But he did. And do you know what's mad? a lot of the reports last week were he's waiting for Real Madrid. And that's what I was told by some people. He's waiting to hear from Real Madrid. Turns out that wasn't accurate. He was waiting for a club, but he was waiting for Chelsea. Like, that's great, because do you know what's mad? Real Madrid might not be signing a centre-back to replace Varane. That's just something I was told the other day, and it could be true. Spurs fans therefore thought, oh, we'll get Kounde then. They're not going to sign him. And then Chelsea come in and went, oi, see you later. But it ain't the first time Chelsea have taken a player away from Tottenham, is it? Do you know what I mean? It isn't the first time. Jan here said Chelsea are one of the best negotiators in the game. Of course they are. Of course they are. Everyone knows. Listen, I don't expect any of you to listen to my word on transfers like you do a Yad or a Fabrizio. And I don't expect that, and nor do I want it to a degree. But I'm telling you all summer, every time Dean's been on it, every time Pete's been on here, what have they said to you? Even this morning, and I didn't at the time to get the clip ready. Dean's words were, Chelsea fans, relax. You're going to make signings this summer. You're going to get good players in. Relax. You've got amazing negotiators. You've got an amazing structure at your club. Relax. And how many times have you all seen me say it on here? If you're new to the terrace and you don't know, I'm a Man United fan. Did you see me laughing when you weren't signing no one? Because I knew what was coming. I knew what was coming. Jules Kounde, one of the best young defenders on planet Earth, is going to be a Chelsea player. There's no shadow of a doubt in my mind. My brother's here. Slendz is in the house. What you saying, bro?
Yes, bro. Listen, man, I'm here to kind of shout you out as well, man. 3 months ago, you had a video about Jules Kounde joining Chelsea, and the title was brilliant. I think it said Crown Jewels or something brilliant like that. So I got to shout you out, man. You mentioned this 3 months ago, and it's come to fruition today. Fabrizio mentioned it. And Chelsea fans, again, like myself included, just relax. Just sometimes just relax. You just trust in the negotiators that you have, because in the past, they've literally been quiet all window, and then little do you know, a big signing happens. And you know what? Jules Kounde, this is some facts that I know about him. Amongst the under 23 players in Liga, he's the most in possession one and defensive third, most headed clearances at 5'11", most passes into the opposition half, and also the second most aerial duels won. So although he's 5'11" and people have concerns about it, I'm not comparing him to Fabio Cannavaro, but Fabio Cannavaro was also a short centre back. Obviously not as tall as the normal centre back, yet he was incredible. And he didn't find issues. So you don't have to be tall to kind of contest aerial duels. You just have to be smart. The way you contest duels, you just have to be smart. So it's a very exciting signing. And honestly, I think it's not even the end of our business this window.
Yeah, listen, it isn't, bro. It isn't. I actually need to clarify something. I know we mentioned it in March. That video you're talking about was the 9th of April, actually. Just so it's back in March, just for things. Someone sent me a link to it as well. But yeah, listen, it's one of those things. Clubs don't transfers. Once the bid's accepted, transfers to get agreed and signed take about 24 hours. But all the work that goes in before it can take months. And I think it's an excellent piece of business from yourself. The quality of player, the strength and depth, as you've mentioned already. And it's just the future proofing. I said at the top of this video, and I say it again, the future proofing from Chelsea. When you start to look at your squad now, you've got so many class, talented players who have got anything between 8 to 12 years of their career remaining at the highest level. And when you start to maybe look at Man City right now and Liverpool, you take away 4 or 5 of their players that are in their late 20s, early 30s, and then you start to look at where the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 world-class players are. I don't know if you can see them. If you get where I'm coming from, where you look at Chelsea and you've got Silva, you've got, of course, Kante, you've got Jorginho, you've got these elder statesmen that are brilliant, and then you've got this plethora of young talent that's coming through at the same time, and you could be adding Haaland to this. And I know you're not a massive fan of Declan Rice, but Thomas Tuchel seems, the word from Fabrizio today was Tuchel loves him. And if we're going to trust Tuchel on this Kounde news, we're going to trust Tuchel on the fact that he says Tuchel loves him. And if Tuchel loves him, maybe there's a better player in there than some of us are giving him credit for.
Of course. You know what, Seri? Like, a lot of people are very vocal about how we go through a lot for a lot of managers yet maintain success in the past. The reason we did that so well is because we had a core of players that consisted of Terry, Cech, Lampard, Drogba. I think if you're looking at obviously the core that's coming up, we don't know if it's going to be as good as that, but you have to build a core, man. For anything, for any success you want, you build that core, and then the whole, like, obviously I don't want Tuchel to go. Like I want him to stay as long as possible and build this process. But in the future, if we have that core, even if it includes Declan Rice, which I'm not a big fan of, I'm for it, man. Like, it's all about the core. Like, Kounde can be part of the core. Like, someone like Tchouameni, if we do sign him, Haaland, Havertz, Mount, that's a solid core for years to come. And no matter who the manager is, the success can be found. You know what I mean? Together, and it's exciting times. As I said for Chelsea, don't panic too much, man. Like the signings we're making are different. Even last window, the Havertz, the Werner, you know what I mean? The Chilwells, that's all signings for now and also the future.
Yeah, and that's what's scary about it. You know, they're not, if the signings, all these youngsters, if they were like Gilmore's and Tchouameni's, where you're like, okay, they're like not ready yet to command a first team place. I disagree with Egal. Like Egal could be right in what, I don't know if you heard what Egal said. He
I
said,
didn't hear it, no.
Egal come on the show and said that if you play Kounde in a back two, he's going to struggle. Back three will be okay. He's not good enough to play back two in the Prem. That's essentially what he said. I disagree with that, but he might struggle year one in the Prem because lots of players have done when they first moved over and they've adjusted to the speed of the Prem and the culture of the country and everything else that comes along with it. But generally speaking, all these youngsters we're talking about here are ready to impact your first team now, and they haven't peaked. And that's the scary thing. It's like these signings are all very much like Jadon Sancho. Yes, he's 21 years old, but he's not like a normal 21-year-old. He's not like a 21-year-old who's had no first team experience in a top four league or a handful of games. Like you've got someone like Ahmad, who's a lot younger, but Ahmad barely played for Atalanta. Like he's still very raw in his career. Like Jules Kounde's been playing regularly now for what, 2 or 3 seasons? And
Terry, sorry. Yeah, you're spot on. You're spot on. Like in terms of like age, people always look at age and dismiss everything else. Look at Camavinga, right? He's 18 years old. He's played about 67 league games. So in terms of footballing age, he's not really 18. He's older than that. Rashford's about 24. He's played so many games. You look at like the amount of games they played, and then you weigh up. You don't just look at their age and dismiss everything else. Like Kounde, as you said, he's played in Europa League finals. He's played in big finals for Sevilla. So the experience is different. And I'm just wondering, what was Egal's basis of the argument of him saying he wouldn't work in the back four?
He didn't. He just basically said it from what he's seen. He didn't sort of delve into any kind of technical detail as to why it wouldn't work. Look, it's a good guess. I mean, the point is this: is a lot of people told him Gabriel wouldn't work in a first year in the Prem. And he hasn't, and Gabriel hadn't even played at as high a level as La Liga on a regular basis. And I thought Gabriel did quite well. I think Jules Kounde, is he going to have moments where he makes mistakes and has issues? By the way,
probably.
We've seen Virgil van Dijk after his first 18 months at Liverpool, where he was flawless. We've seen Virgil van Dijk have hairy moments and make mistakes. But what is going to happen, and I think football, we're all going to do it to each other, but we've all got to be prepared for it. The first mistake Varane makes, the first mistake Kounde makes, the first mistake Ben White makes, the fan bases are going to jump on it. It's going to be, we know what happens now. Everything's overanalyzed and overfocused on. We sort of like, we've almost created this like image in our heads that the John Terrys and the Rio Ferdinands never made mistakes and they were just flawless in every single game. It's mad. Like it's crazy, but I think he's a tremendous player. Do you think if you just get a central midfielder and a defender, do you think that's enough to challenge for the Premier League title, or do you still think that striker's essential?
Okay, you're saying challenge. I think we can challenge, but winning it is a different story. Like we've seen every season with the Premier League, the last couple of years actually, that you put a winning run together. City put a winning run together last year. Liverpool put a winning run together. When I say winning run, I don't mean run of undefeated games, because that's the difference. So a winning run means you have. You can score goals and you can protect your defense and keep a clean sheet. Under Tuchel, if you look at our undefeated run, we had quite a lot of draws, and what we were lacking is that goal scorer. We were lacking that clinical edge. Obviously, everyone knows we need a striker, and I don't believe that we have that clinical striker yet. Maybe Havertz can transform and Werner can prove me wrong, but Without that, I don't see us putting together a run of 12 to 13, games of just winning. So I don't quite think so. Yeah, I think we can challenge. I think we can push the team that's winning it to the last month, but winning it, no. We need a clinical striker.
And I hear you on that. And I think a lot of Chelsea fans would agree with you on that one here. I'll keep you on for a bit, Slendz, if you've got time, my bro. Neil here, Neil Callahan says, off topic, but any change in the stance or news on Liverpool? It's interesting because I asked Dean Jones about it, and he actually said that the comments from Carl Markham were not unreasonable. He essentially said, if Liverpool don't sell their players for the right amount of money and raise the income, they may not sign anybody. I think Jules Kounde this morning said that there's 2 deals in the pipeline. I don't disagree with that either. I think that they probably do have deals in the pipeline, but Liverpool only execute the right players coming in when they raise enough money through the sale of individuals. And it's almost those 2 things have to coincide with one another to happen. Very rarely do you see Liverpool spend before they buy in recent times. So I think that the stance is the same for Liverpool, and it's been the same for years now. It's if we raise the money and we have the capacity, they'll spend. If they don't, and let's just say the 2 players are looking to sell pick up injuries this week and they can't sell them, maybe no signings will come in. I think that's my reading of the situation, and Liverpool are not going to yield from that moment there. A lot of people saying keep the checks. Listen, keep the chat respectful. Transfer window always makes people get disrespectful to one another. Chill out a little bit and relax. Matty here said Zuma could be leaving this summer, according to Fabrizio. I mean, with Kounde coming in, who would you expect to see leave, and who would you like to see leave?
I mean, I would like to see Kurt Zuma leave. Obviously, I never want players to leave, like just get out of my club. I don't have that kind of mentality. But I think if I'm looking at who suits us best in terms of what we have right now, Zuma's the least one, because he's not very comfortable on the ball. I think it's very important in the Tuchel system for our centre-backs to be comfortable on the ball, which is why we're looking at Kounde. Kounde is incredible with both feet. And Zuma, unfortunately, just isn't good. Like in terms of ball retention, Rudiger and Christensen are superior. I acknowledge that Zuma's incredible at aerial duels and, like sometimes bringing in the odd goal in. But as I said, the systems, it's all about this Tuchel system, and Zuma doesn't fit in it. So I'm happy to see him go.
Yeah, I understand that. I think he's the of all your centre backs, I think he's the weakest link. If that makes, without saying he's rubbish, he's that weakest link, and Kounde's just step up from that. And that's where sentiment has to go out the window, and people have to start looking at their football club from the right lens in many ways. Right? What does my club need here? And it's a better centre back, and then you need to create room at the end of the day and move people on to be able to go and get that done. You go, mate. I
got a question for you. So, the business we recently did in terms of selling and buying. We sold Tomori and sold Gehi. Tomori was sold for around, I think, 30 million, and Gehi was 20 million. Then it's looking like we're going to replace them with Kounde. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's because I'm hearing different things about people saying that Tomori and Gehi's ceiling could reach high levels, but I'm happy with it. I don't know about what you think.
I look at it this way. Your club, you can't fame your club. Well-run clubs make mistakes. That's true. I think Chelsea fans are allowed to have that opinion, and it's fair to have that opinion. But I wouldn't be stressed about it. That would be my view. It's, do you know what? I think Tomori's as good as Kounde. But I'm going to get behind Kounde. And the reason I say that is because your club make good decisions invariably. You strive to win. You've got a world-class manager that's backing these decisions. I would understand there being more of a concern if Lampard was here making these decisions, but it's Thomas Tuchel. So I understand people have got opinion. But like I said earlier, I had opinions on who should and shouldn't start games or be sold or bought when Fergie was my manager. But whatever he did, I just went with it. And if he did it, and if it went wrong, it was okay. I got to a point with Fergie where it was like, you got that one wrong, but I don't care because he's Fergie. And I know that Tuchel hasn't been around as long as Fergie at Chelsea, but that would almost be my same train of thought that, I look at Tomori and I saw a really talented centre-back. But let's just see how things pan out. In 5 years' time, Tomori you might be saying, where is Tomori? Where Jules Kounde can be looked at as one of the best centre-backs, in the world. And I think that's what I would focus on if I was yourself. Do you know what I mean? And defending in Serie A, is that easier than it is defending and playing in the Premier League? Everyone's going to have a difference of opinion on that. It depends on your perspective. it's like lots of people are currently saying Haaland isn't that great because it's Bundesliga tax. He's doing it in the Bundesliga. And it's like, well, that's not, he's killing it in the Champions League as well. I think Kounde in is a great move. I would trust Chelsea's football club. I would trust the process that you guys go through because it invariably turns out great results, mate. That's what I would sort of say. I don't know enough about the other two players either. I've watched Jules Kounde more than those two, but I would trust the Chelsea board because they invariably get it right, mate. That's what I would say. We're going to take a few more calls. I'm going to keep Slendz on with me. We're going to add a few more of you to this, get a bit of a group chat thing going on here. Next to join us on the line is going to be Yash. What you saying, Yash?
Hi, Derry. Thank you for having me back again.
Not a problem. What do you want to say, my friend?
I just want to. I'm a Chelsea fan, so now that finally Kounde is coming, it's finally start. But I wanted to ask, what do you think? That is it just the start of a shopping spree for Chelsea? Is it Rice and Haaland coming next very quickly?
Let me just say this now. I saw someone tweet a minute ago saying that I said advanced talks between Haaland and Chelsea begun a few days ago. I didn't. I said advanced talks in terms of negotiations have begun. And that was all based on the CFC news report. So no one twist my words. I think a bid, whether official or unofficial, will go in for Haaland. And I think a bid and a push for Declan Rice will come in. Whether or not you get those deals accepted are completely different conversations. I am not putting my neck on the line at this point because I'll be honest with you, I don't know if Chelsea are going to pull those deals off. It's the Jans and the Fabrizios that have said 150 plus is likely to be accepted. Now, what I will say is this. I read a quote earlier and I don't remember. I read it on a website, so I stole it because it wasn't their quote. It was the words from the former Arsenal and Dortmund scout, Melinta. Yeah, where he said, it has been said that Dortmund won't sell Haaland. It's reported that there will be an exit clause of 75 to 80 million next year. If a club were to put down 175 million now, that magic number has come up again. This is from a scout, so not a journalist, a scout. Can you afford to forego 100 million? There are pain limits. But are we at least able to raise to them? So essentially saying, for me, kind of reading between definitely a translation, I would say, there from a different language into English, but basically another kind of person with a fairly credible background saying, can Dortmund actually say no to a bid of that level? And it comes down to whether Chelsea are prepared to actually put that bid on the table. You know, the reports are that Roman's given the green light and the club want to do it. Let's see whether that comes through. I do think if you bid 150 million pound for Haaland, is your player. That's my belief. So as long as a bid goes in, I think you can sign him, mate. That's what I would say. Yash.
Yes. There's one more thing. Just some time back on Fabrizio Romano's stream, there was Jan, and he told that you can call Haaland as a Dortmund player right now. No one knows what's going to happen in about a week. So
and no one does. And do you know what I will say is this as well? Now, this is nothing confirmed. This is my thoughts on this. I also want to get Slend's opinion on this too. We were the first. Sounds so horrible saying that, but we were to talk about the 150 bid, 30 plus 20. The CFC news page has done a similar story. We've seen the Jans and people say that's the limit. They haven't said a bid, but they said the limit's coming in. I've seen lots of articles. I've seen lots of in-the-know accounts all say 150, 150, 150, 150 in different ways, shapes, or forms. You could even call me an in-the-know. I don't give a shit. We've all said it in one way. Not a single tier one has confirmed or denied. Matt Law hasn't come out and said, what a load of bollocks. This is not being worked on. If there was nothing happening, Chelsea would shut it down. They wouldn't allow their fans to get their hopes up for nothing. So it's not being denied, but it also isn't being confirmed. And we know why it isn't being confirmed. Because if Chelsea decide to not put it in, or if they get told that they're going to have it rejected, Chelsea will want to shut it down and say, we were never going to bid. We know that's how the PR works now. So I would be quietly excited that it hasn't been confirmed or denied by any of the big tier ones. The bid is pending. Not what the asking price may be, but the bid is being worked on or not. Because I think if it was a complete BS rumor, Matt Law as an example, Fabrizio as an example, would all come out and say bullshit. I think they would shut it down almost instantly, is what I would think. What's your thoughts on that, Slendz?
Yeah, listen, I think initially, if people want to believe in the tier ones, right, and then they just go on their words, Matt Law did say we registered interest in Haaland, like in the beginning of this. If they just want to go off what they say, yeah, I think it was around the end of June. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure about the exact date. So if the price comes out and there's rumblings about 150 million, as Terry has said, I think they would have come out and said no price has been set. Where is this price tag coming from? There's no smoke without fire. It's always like that. It's always the same price tag with most reports that come out in the CFC News one, and even the Chelsea Youth, I believe Carefree Youth. My apologies. They reported on this, and it's always been the same. So honestly, I'm not just saying this in front of the camera. I'm actually secretly excited as well. Like I genuinely think, like that I genuinely think it's actually in the pipeline, and that we're actually discussing things behind closed doors. So yeah, that's just what I think, man.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what I will say is this though: if it doesn't go through, it will be no. We weren't ever interested. We know that, and I think fans. But this is all on fans. Fans want news and updates every single minute of the day. So sometimes the update is there's no update, and that annoys people. Equally, we love buying into our club's PR. When the clubs say we didn't put a bid in, we put in 5 informal inquiries that isn't officially a bid. We all back our clubs in that regard as well. So if we back our clubs when they push out the PR, don't get annoyed when you get no news because the club's protecting itself for PR reasons. I think those two things go hand in glove. But Yaz, thank you very much, mate, for coming on and having your say. We're going to take another call here from a Man United fan, Matt. What are you saying, Matt?
Yeah, I think Jules Kounde is a great signing. I think he'll do very well. It'll take a year for him to settle down, which is normal. I think, look at Havertz. He was promising towards the end of the season because of Tuchel's plans and what he wants to do with the system. So big up in Chelsea on that. And I think Haaland will come in. Rice is a huge possibility. Give or take, I reckon 2-3 weeks, you have your transfer business wrapped up. I reckon it'll be a couple of weeks before Haaland comes in personally, because it's a huge bid. But once that official bid goes in, you're looking good, Chelsea. I'm scared. So, but what's the news on the Neves? Because you said you're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Neves news is it's funny, really, because I often don't hear everything that Dean Jones says. Even though I'm listening, I'm busy doing other things. And he essentially spoke about it earlier, and I've had further conversations since. Arsenal have made more of an attempt to sign Ruben Neves, but he wants Man United. Essentially, why you're now seeing Arsenal linked to a lot of other midfielders, because they want Neves, but Neves has simply said, a bit like Jules Kounde with Tottenham, it's cool. But right now, I don't want to discuss. I want to leave Wolves. I would go to Arsenal. But Man United have shown some interest. I'm going to sit back and wait, first of all. Like, imagine signing for Arsenal and then a day later, Man United like, oh, we're ready for you now. That's going to feel, do you know what I mean? That's like getting married and a day later, Beyonce turns up at your house and she's like, yo, what happened? I thought you were single. No disrespect to your missus, but imagine how you feel. You're fuck Beyonce, man. Like, that's like, you got to slow down a bit. So United are the front runners for him. We have made preliminary contact with his representatives. Of course, he's looked after by Jorge Mendes, who has a very good relationship with Manchester United Football Club. Wolves are willing to sell him 35 to 40 million pounds, but Man United's midfield situation is slightly being held up by the situation with Paul Pogba. And you should listen to anyone who hasn't to the Done Deal show from this morning, because the Paul Pogba situation is interesting. His dream move is Madrid, but probably won't materialize until next year. But if he signs a new deal at Man United or joins PSG, he'll never get his dream move. So United, though, don't want him to leave for free. We'd rather him go to PSG so we can raise some money for him now. If he doesn't go PSG, then Man United are going to work really hard to convince him that they're the right club to stay at. The signings you might get to January and he thinks, January, Man United are doing well and Real Madrid look awful under Ancelotti. It's such a complicated situation that's holding it back. But Ruben Neves wants to join Manchester United.
We'll sign a midfielder if we cover any players. I know Jess Lingard's on the transfer list. Well, he's looking to go out anyway. We've got a couple other players, maybe Matic, Brandon Williams on loan, Pereira hopefully will sell, and obviously getting rid of Phil Jones of the wage bill. Do you reckon we'll sign a midfielder from them sales?
We may. It depends who you speak to. Some journalists have told me only if Pogba leaves. Some have said we work. You've got to remember. So Camavinga as an option was looked at as a player that we could sign. We didn't. It was looked at as we don't need him to be ready straight away because Pogba's here. If Pogba leaves, that changes the kind of player we go after. So whether or not, if Pogba stays, it changes the kind of target that we're going to be aiming for. So that's why it's important. So when he returns and he's back at training next week and United sit down with him, you'll see. So I wouldn't expect any movement in the midfield area for at least another week or so. Matt, thank you very much for coming on and having your say. There's another update I want to bring you from Fabrizio here. The update says that Jules Kounde update, Chelsea are in advanced talks with Sevilla and Zuma could be included, and Kurt Zuma could be included in the negotiations. Possible swap deal to go through in the next hours, days for Zuma, plus money for Kounde to Chelsea. A lot of swap deals being looked at this season in the way of keeping the monetary distance. But the fact there's been 3 updates, and this is why I said earlier, the journalist I spoke to said this could be a done deal very, very soon. In his eyes, it may already be. The news will be staggered. It's coming out so quickly, Slendz. The news is coming out like every 30 seconds. There seems like there's an update. That tells me this is going to be concluded pretty quickly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Listen, that's why I said don't panic, because as like Chelsea do business quietly, and within 3 hours he's had 3 different updates. Do you know what I mean? And I don't, honestly speaking, this just makes a lot of sense. It just makes a lot of sense. It's very good business for me. Like we're taking out a player, taking out his wages, and bringing him to Sevilla and getting in for me an upgrade, a centre back who suits us. But honestly speaking, man, like these people, like the updates are. This is really bizarre. I've never seen something like it before from Fabrizio. Within 3 hours, he's got 3 updates about the same player.
Do you know what you might find? You know what you might find this all relates to? He may have been given all this information. What I've realized he does, he obviously. So he works with a few other channels and people as well, because I noticed that when Fabrizio tweets something, certain YouTube channels, depending on the club that he's talking about, are ready to go live that second, right? So there's obviously a lot of, and by the way, fair play to people. Like business arrangements are important in this scenario. I think a lot of what's being, I think there's almost a conclusion already in this deal. That's almost ready, and it's the stagger the news, because every time if you just go straight in with the swap deal element, it doesn't not take the buzz away, but it's from a content creation point of view, and news has always been like this. The news want you to keep, like when you hear like a big scandal with a football player, have you noticed how like the same newspaper will release a staggered approach? You get the big bit of news, and then a day later there's another thing. They already have all that information, but they don't put it all into one story. They stagger it over the course of a week, so you keep reading it, and that's all that I think is happening right now. And that's no disrespect to Fabrizio. I think he already has this. He'll stagger the release of it, which is why I wouldn't be surprised if by maybe 8 o'clock we get a here we with the speed of this. I wouldn't be surprised tonight if we got a here we go soon message come through.
Terry, can I just sorry, I was going to say something about our midfield situation. I know Declan Rice is being linked to us, and he might as well it might be completed. But there's one thing about Jules Kounde's agent, I believe, is the same agent as Chouameni's agent. So you could, I mean, obviously, I think we might buy both Declan Rice and Chouameni, because Chouameni isn't at a high price. So this is just interesting. I'll keep an eye. I'm not sure. I read it somewhere. I'm not sure if it's a fact, but I'm pretty sure I've seen a picture of them two together, and I think there's a relationship, and they have the same agent as well. So that could be done as well.
No, it could. I think Grey Wolf Dinner came on and I said that earlier as well, and it's true. It's those kind of situations. Sometimes those links are. The correlation is true. Other times it's just a coincidence. But Chouameni, for me, it's interesting when they say that Tuchel wants another midfielder. It's whether he wants another midfielder now, or whether he's happy to have a midfielder that's going to be ready in 2 or 3 years' time, like a Billy Gilmore. Because of course, you know, we said earlier about how you look at your team, like Kante, Kovacic, Jorginho. They are the here and now. They're in their pomp. But in 2 or 3 years' time, they could be over the hill. One or two of them might want to go somewhere else. But from your point of view, like you're doing all this work in the background to ensure that you have the caliber of player ready to replace them as and when is needed. And I think that's just absolutely brilliant. We have a super chat here that says, "What's your thoughts on Toby Alderweireld leaving Spurs?" expected, really. He's at the end of his career. He's no longer at his best. I think he's gone to play in Qatar, which means getting a nice retirement package there, like a nice bit of moolah. And fair play to him. And he might win something. Yeah, I don't know what club he's gone to. He might win the, do you know what I mean? He might win their league or something out there. Do you know what I mean? But fair, like a good servant to the Prem. And I really feel like I wish that he had like got a bigger move sooner. I really do. I think
at one point, him and Vertonghen was the best partnership in the league for me. At one point, when they were both at their prime, that was one of the best like in the league that year. Honestly. The whole defense in general was all, even Walker, and you add Rose. That was a very good back four. It's unlucky they didn't win anything with them, but you know what I mean. Like, they got close. Yeah,
if you look at it from a like a fan perspective, like it's like a Chelsea fan, it's laughable. As a football fan, it's like that team was so good, it just didn't. Yeah, it just didn't reach the heights that it needed to. Big up Blue Wolf is what Jem says. Who's Blue Wolf? Is that a person? I assume that's a person. Maria Williams here, always digging out Spurs. I'm not digging out Spurs. I'm just speaking. What's that fact? I can't help it. Like it's your club that allows that to happen. We're gonna do a few more calls here. We're gonna bring in Eric Blue. What are you saying, Eric Blue?
Yo, Terry, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect, my brother. What do you want to say?
Yeah, I'm just. It's been very eventful the past like 5 hours, or maybe 3 hours. The Chelsea thing, obviously nothing really happened with the Twitch stream. No major news about Holland. But the whole thing with Kounde, it's interesting. I'm not against it. I like him. He's a good player. I'm assuming he will replace one of the two, one of our options. Obviously Zuma is probably going out, so he might be a starter depending on how much he costs. So that's interesting. Yeah, I've just been a little bit there's nothing to talk about, So it's difficult and everything, but we're just trying to be patient, and the one Kounde is nice and everything, but the signing every Chelsea fan wants is obviously Holland. So I'm hearing that by this time next week, hopefully there's some kind of there's some serious updates on whether we get him or not. So hopefully by this time next week, at least a bid would have been put in. So that's what I'm waiting for, man.
Yeah, I hear you on that, and yeah, hopefully for you, because you sound like you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out so quickly. You sound like you need it, brother. You sound like you're struggling a little bit. Let's do one last caller here. We're gonna go to Julius. Julius, welcome to the terrace. What do you want to say?
A couple of things regarding the Haaland deal and the Kounde deal. Also, that Dortmund announcement of Malen recently. I feel they're all kind of connected in a way. Kounde was linked to Chelsea for a while now, and if you notice, Chelsea are very quiet in general when it comes to their transfers, and they've probably decided now to go all out on him and get it done as soon as possible. Could be a political game on Dortmund to tell them, okay, you know what, if you're gonna play the hard game, we're gonna start buying players, and this could potentially give Dortmund the impression that Chelsea may start to kind of use their transfer budget in other areas and other players. So also, if you look at the Dortmund announcement of Malen right now, just a couple minutes ago, could be also an indicator that the Haaland deal has been stalled a little bit or quiet for a while because Dortmund are waiting to finalize that deal with PSV, so they don't get cornered in a way with the negotiations. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next few days to kind of start seeing that Haaland deal picking up in pace, and whether we're gonna get him or no. But I have a feeling it's gonna be all positive, and Chelsea are gonna start getting these deals done quick it's gonna be like a snowball. All of it,
but I think that's normal as well, my friend Julius. If you actually think about this, every journalist I've had on, every journalist I listen to, they all say it. When it comes to your big deals, Chelsea are notoriously late bidders in the window. It's how you operate as a football club. So that's why when I saw 2 or 3 weeks ago, Chelsea fans phoning in, kicking off, angry, screaming, for me, it was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, this is, you know how your club operates. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, you're watching your club operate in the same way that it's invariably operated. Yet you're panicking. It was, I never really got it. Like, it never made any sense to me at all. I just thought, calm down, slow down. European champions, enjoy.
Exactly, 100%.
And listen, I know we spend a lot of money here, but understand that this deal, this potential transfer fee, is twice the amount of our record transfer fee paid. So it's not something that will be done easily. Like, we're going to try our best to lower the price. I think people are telling me that it's in Dortmund's hands. It's in Dortmund's hands. No, it's not. Because Dortmund they're a selling club. You offer them the money they want or close to the money they want, they will sell one of their best ever players. As simple as that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like I was listening to Sky Germany earlier on today. Now, I don't like to be disrespectful to broadcasters, but they were like, Dortmund last year said they wouldn't sell Sancho, and they didn't. We believe the same this year. And I'm like, how are you being that disingenuous with the facts? Dortmund wanted 120 million and they got offered 90. That's why they said no, right? Dortmund this year have said we don't want to sell him. We're happy to wait for next year. They haven't even set a limit. They offered 150 million pound. It's nearly 100 million pounds more than they're going to get next year. The two scenarios, that's a false equivalence to use the Jadon Sancho situation. Dortmund are a selling club. Their business model is to buy quality and develop quality young players and sell them at a profit. That is what keeps them near the top of the tree within Germany. So I understand they know they're not beating. Unless Bayern Munich have a bad season, they're not winning the league. They're not good enough to win the Champions League. So why turn down 100 million pounds in cash? And when you consider they bought him for 20 million quid, that's also a huge profit. Like, you take away what they've spent on him in salary, they're making over 100 million pound profit on the deal as well. Like, it's colossal. It's colossal. For me, I've said one thing I've said, and I say with chest, this Haaland deal, since Haaland said I would agree, I would join, and personal terms are no problem. This is all on Chelsea. The same as Liverpool and Sal Niguez. It's all on Liverpool if they don't get him, as an example. Man United, when it came to Sancho and Rafael Varane, it was all on us. We were the front runners. We had the money. If we didn't get him, it's because we didn't put the damn bid in. I don't care about any bullshit, any PR. If you don't get Haaland this summer, it's because for whatever reason your club decided not to go for him, and that's it for me. It's in Chelsea's hands. He's a Chelsea player. Yeah, Chelsea bid.
And Terry, you know what? I find it uncomfortable to kind of compare it to Sancho because there's a lot of similarities, of course, in terms of Dortmund being very difficult to negotiate with. But did Sancho's deal get slashed by half the summer after? Because it didn't. Like, I think Haaland's one will be slashed by half, more than half. Sorry, actually, 100 million, more than half. So it shows you, like, it's in our hands. And if Dortmund are able to recoup more than 100 million, then they will next year. Trust me, they'll take the opportunity with both hands.
Of course they will. And I think if you actually look at the Sancho example, I think the biggest comparison is they wanted a 120. There was reports towards the end that accept 105. They got offered 90. They said no to that. And a year later, they sold him for 73 million pounds. So they lost on that deal. You could argue nearly 50 million if you look at their asking price. But they lost nearly 20 million on what we bid on the final week of the transfer window last year. Now, they made it into the Champions League. Without him, would they have made it into the Champions League? So that's 50 million pounds. So maybe you add it all in, they've lost a little bit less. Without Sancho, would they have made the Champions League? Maybe or maybe not. In fairness, it was a slow start to the season for Sancho. A lot of people put that down to him being disgruntled and not very happy with not being able to move. So maybe they would have started the season a little bit better with somebody else in his position, etc. But they still lost money, in my opinion, at the end of the day. And they risk doing that. And if they keep Haaland, they turn down 150, even 130, and they don't make the Champions League. They struggled last year, and they don't make the Champions League, and then they lose him for 65 million pounds. There's going to be a lot of Dortmund fans very, very angry with their football club. And that's what they need to weigh. There's so many things for them to weigh up from their end, which, again, the journalists are not talking about because They don't want to burn their relationships with those clubs and say things as they are. And that's why fan channels rule the roost when it comes to the airways in this day and age, because we can just be blunt about these things. Because I don't need a relationship with Borussia Dortmund or Manchester United or anyone else. I just need a relationship with our audience and our viewers and give them the chance to speak.
Can I say something about Rice?
Yes, mate. Go on, mate.
There is a lot of hate and kind of a lot of the Chelsea fans are not too keen on Declan Rice, and it makes me laugh a little bit because that reminds me of Ben Chilwell last year, because a lot of the Chelsea fans were like, we don't need to pay 50 million or 60 million for Ben Chilwell. We can go for Reguilon for half the price and he's 10 times better than Ben Chilwell. Well, how did that go at the end? You know, the Declan Rice situation reminds me a lot of Ben Chilwell. If Tuchel wants him, if Lampard wanted him, and the club wants him, also he's really close to a lot of the Chelsea players as well. I don't see why not. You know, Declan Rice, for me personally, is as important to the team as Haaland. He's going to be an absolute legend for the club in the future. And
I can't agree with you there. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just can't. It's not as important as Haaland is. Haaland is a missing piece for us. No, it's not. I mean, in the current moment that we are, maybe in the future when we're Jorginho and Kante get older, maybe. But I mean, in the current situation we're in, of course he's not worth as much.
How can you
we have a goal scoring problem.
But how can you guarantee that Kante and Jorginho and Kovacic are going to have a great season next year? That Kante is already 30 years old. He's injury prone.
Listen, I trust Kante more than I would ever trust Rice. I'll be honest with you. I know he's 30 years old, but and I understand that there's a lot of things that could happen. But Kante proved to me in the trophy that we won, the Champions League, he had 3 or 4 man of the match performances in the knockouts. Jorginho had a great end of the season with Tuchel in the Champions League and in the Euros. So I don't think that when he's a missing piece, as people like to label him, I think if Tuchel wants him and he's insistent on him, I'm going to support it once he comes. But I will always share my opinion. I don't think he's as important as Haaland. No chance.
Again, this is not saying that Rice is better than Kante. Kante is
I understand.
Football greatest legends in that position. But Rice long term is really important for Chelsea for many reasons. And we have to close in on him as soon as possible because Man U are also linked to them.
Do you know what it is? I listen. We are linked to him, and I think he in context terms, he could be a better signing in the shorter term for Man United than he is for Chelsea because of who you've got. I think the problem some Chelsea fans have is Declan Rice is not even a Chelsea player yet, and he's been used as a tool at times to slag off players like Jorginho, etc. And I think it berates people that I know he's an academy player, and I know he's talented. But there's 1 or 2 Chelsea accounts I follow. I used to mute them during West Ham games. And I'm not even a Chelsea fan. It was like, my God, why? Man, he controlled the ball normally.
Just say it was mine, Terry. Just say it was mine. Mine.
It was just like, that weren't even that great. It was a good performance. But it was like talking about it like they'd just witnessed. It was like Gerrard, Scholes, and Frank Lampard had come together and created a baby that was a hybrid of all 3 of them. That's how they were chatting about it. Do you know what I mean? I was like, it was good. Like, I think he's a very talented player, but I do understand the frustration that some Chelsea fans have towards him. I really do. But listen, everyone that's tuned in today, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. Jules Kounde closing in on a move to Chelsea Football Club. Is that done deal sound going to be coming very, very soon from Fabrizio Romano? Is total agreement going to be coming very, very soon? We'll keep you posted every step of the way. The only channel to give you a voice every single day. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.